My name is Londell Jackson, and I have been in the Unshakable Man community for, I want to say, 2 years now or so. This community has given to me several gifts, and I'm not going to try to name them all, so I will just qualitatively describe my experiences as Chris has asked. I love to say this. Apparently, I'm an oddity because I love to say this. I'm entering my next half century of life, and I'm quite excited about it. I'm excited about it now. The reason for that is in part because of what the TUM community has allowed me to experience and what the TUM community has given to me and prepared me for. I am a Afro-Latino gay man here in Denver, Colorado, and I say that way to express how isolated I have felt most of my life, unable to really make real connections with men in general. And growing older, over time, it's been very isolating for me. I've just been searching for spaces and places to connect with people, and especially men. It's just been a vacuum in my life. In some ways, or this particular way, the lockdown during COVID was a blessing because it forced me to look for ways to connect with people, and it forced the world, quite honestly, to look for ways to connect with people virtually. All of that to say that I stumbled upon the Unshakable Man Community in my search. I entered a cohort. I was terrified that I would not find connection with men because I have my own bias of what a man is, and that is the stereotypical sports-loving, uber-masculine, hairy-faced man. Pay no attention to Chris or Mike over there. Both of which I am not. All of which I'm not. And so entering the community, there were some of that stereotype. And it forced me to look at my biases and how I project my biases on men based on how they appear. And again, being a person of color, being a gay person of color, I instantly go in and guard myself with those biases and assumptions. In this cohort, there was a man who I had created this whole story about because he was a football coach. He was, in my mind, this uber masculine guy. And by the end of the cohort, I grew such a fondness for him and such a closeness for him that I realized that none of that bias was true, that he is just as tender and as vulnerable as I am. And sexuality doesn't matter. I mean, he's a very heterosexual man, and I could have a private conversation with him on the phone or by Zoom, and we could connect about intimate stories, and we could connect because we were both men searching for connection. Then going forward from that cohort experience and moving into the larger community, I was less afraid to join community and be visible in community and be vocal in community because it wasn't just that man, but it was also additional men from who I had to withdraw my biases and realize that, that I was part of the problem in how I defined a man and masculinity. And that I think I said during the cohort that these men, I think there may be 12 or 15, helped me to realize that manliness, masculinity, and what it is to be a man, I get to define that for myself, regardless of what I see on television, in a magazine, or what have you. And I never know another man's story, ever. I carry that every day, and I think about men differently, a lot less afraid of men. This community has really helped to enrich my experience of life. And it continually gives me a place to come, be within community, and be within brotherhood. And I don't use that word very lightly because it's always been a loaded term because I'm an only child and I don't call anyone brother or sister even, for any reason. but there's that kind of closeness that I feel with men in this community that I can feel that. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
That was beautiful, Londell.
Gorgeous.